Hi, this is Duff W0FN, and welcome to This is LICW, a look at what's new, noteworthy, and happening in the Long Island CW Club for December 2023. Well, that's a wrap. What a great year for LICW. Looking forward to 2024. A lot of exciting changes are coming up. New classes, schedules, and a new intermediate curriculum that promises to be your key to CW success. I'm really excited, and I'm sure you will be too. It's the holy grail of CW, the Everest of accomplishment, the peak of potential. Stand by, folks. It's QRQ Maniacs. Well, Jenna and Gunnar have pushed the envelope of high-speed telegraphy to amazing warp speed. And all I have to say about that is it's truly amazing. All right, what are you guys up to? What's going on?
Well, basically, we just have our own little class where we invite really anyone who wants to come.
So what's the purpose of the class? What do you guys do?
Yeah, so the goal of the class is to help people improve their CW Morse code speed. So,
Right. Yep.
QRQ. So we want to be able to help people who really are into getting faster and being like us, being able to copy incredible speeds, 50 plus words per minute.
Really? Okay. How does one accomplish that? How in the world do you guys do that?
So my favorite part about this is that we help them by immersing into a long QSO that challenges them to really think, really copy, like in a conversation. Be able to. I know Gunnar sometimes does this. He's George, one of our students for QRQ Maniacs. He's like, "Well, my brain is fried," and stuff like that. And Gunnar was like,
Yep.
hang on just a second here. And he gets the key, just cuts up 5 words per minute faster, and he encourages George, I bet you could copy this at 40 words per minute. And he sends something.
Yeah, sure.
George's name or something really simple, and George is like, "Oh yeah, that was my name." It's like, see, in that kind of motivation setting where we strongly encourage and prove to the other person that they can really copy faster than they think they can. Yes, it's common words that they can copy, but that will help them push forward and gain the motivation.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
know I can copy some of the words at fast rate, like the simple "I" is the and all that good stuff. But when it comes to the other part of it, I don't know. What do you think of the stumbling block for most people is when they start trying to copy faster? What do you think?
Like a stumbling block? What do you mean?
Yeah, stumbling block while we're in learning QRQ, learning
Like the wall?
the wall, yeah.
Oh,
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
the ever-loving wall, that's for sure. What do you think the average speed is of folks when they come in? What do you think the average is when they go out the door?
We start no slower than 30 words per minute. We
Okay.
preferably start at 35.
Oh,
what we
okay.
have noticed is one of our students, Pablo, I don't remember his call sign, W.
Oh yeah, I know him well. Did he started out with the QRQ as well, or where's he at this point?
He was starting out about 30, I think, right?
Yes.
He is max copy 30. And then through our class.
So if I wanted to tackle this thing, all right, I want to get going. I can copy probably a 25. That's where I'm stuck. I mean, that seems to be the wall for me is about 20 or 25. So if I want to improve, where do I go? What do I do?
It's through immersion, or maybe if you're stuck at 25, maybe listen to some code just a tad bit faster, like 27 or 28.
Okay.
To get you to
So
that.
is there a particular, would you go on like Morse code Ninja and kind of start there, or what would you recommend?
The best way is being in a QSO. So that's
Okay.
Being in a QSO with someone who can go fast is
Uh-huh.
go fast for you. And plus, I definitely encourage the Morse code Ninja, and I especially encourage the technique of taking a word
Mm-hmm.
being sent to you at an extremely higher speed, listening to that and say, what the heck is that? And then you kind of slow it down, kind of slowly slow it down until you can just barely copy it. That immerses you into like the really high stuff, and then you try to get slower and slower and slower.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So is ICR, does it play a big part in the high-speed QRQ at this point, or is it something different?
Oh yeah, you need that.
You definitely
If
need
you want to get any faster than whatever speed, you need instant character recognition from the beginning.
You definitely do.
It's so cool.
So yeah, it's for us. It's definitely instant character recognition, and then goes up to syllables.
Okay.
So instant common prefix / suffix syllables, and then you assemble those. And for me, I kind of sound them out in my head, especially going that fast.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy for me to be able to sound it out in my mind, like talking to myself almost.
Right.
A little higher speed to myself. So it's almost like reading.
Exactly like reading.
Yeah, exactly like reading.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So the retention has got to be in there someplace, doesn't it? When you start this thing up, I mean, how do you retain exactly what just flew by?
Yeah,
reading. It's exactly like reading.
It's an art of language.
Okay.
When you take Morse code as a language and pretend and think about that the other person is talking to you there in real life.
Mm-hmm.
It makes it much easier, because the real question would be, how in the world are we able to retain a conversation such as the one we are having here?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Language, because it's speech, is our common English is our common language here. And if we could implement that into Morse code, that would be absolutely wonderful. And this is where we get from QRQ.
That's the pinnacle. I guess that is the holy grail at this particular point from everybody over there. You've got a couple of classes. You've got the QRQ, but then what do you do with the Maniacs now? Or is that just basically something that you kind of open up anywhere, or what about that? Where do you guys usually meet up?
Wednesday and Saturday.
Wednesday and Saturday. There you go. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate that. You are an inspiration to all of us, many of us, including yours truly over here.
I would put a bit of a plug here. We also do have a YouTube channel called QRQ Maniacs. Definitely are working on doing a bunch of fun stuff there.
Oh, cool.
We have a bunch of YouTube shorts up there for QRQ speed hand sent jokes.
Oh, great.
something fun for people, and be able to put up some really fast QRQ content on YouTube for those who are interested. And plus, how I like the YouTube shorts is that naturally after a short is done playing, it replays again. So we're taking that as an advantage by, if people don't get it the first time, instead of having let's see, if the video ends, okay, it will automatically rewind. So people, if they didn't get the first time, it will automatically replay for them for a second chance.
To the second chance around on it. That's great. And that again, and that is on YouTube. And where do we find that? Under QRQ Maniacs, or how do we?
That's a capital Q, capital R, capital Q, and Maniacs, all lowercase, MANIACS, and I can't believe I spelled that.
Okay, that sounds good. Well, we will go on the hunt and find it. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. And hey, carry on, you guys. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much, Dov. Thank you.
All right, take care, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Once again, look it up over there, QRQ Maniacs, over on a YouTube channel. They've got some great stuff over there for you. And in the meantime, well, as you progress through your CW journey, there will come a point where ICR, or Instant Character Recognition, will happen. That's right. There's something about just sitting back and letting the sounds wash over you with fluency and comprehension. Those are the moments you'll enjoy most when things just start to happen. One of LICW classes that focuses on this is Tom W0FN, his ICR classes. I caught up with Tom to unravel some of the aspects of ICR, and the question is,
can unique character sound familiarity levels be improved for students by only practicing at their acceptable current accuracy levels? How can a student get used to ICR character sounds at ICR speeds without listening to them? But how can they listen to them if they can't recognize them?
That's true. You're just going to be noise for that fact, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and that's what keeps people away from gaining experience or being able to gain any familiarity with unique single character sound per letter at the 25 to 30 word per minute character speed that enables hearing those unique sound rhythms, one per character. Because when you hear let's say C at da dit speeds, you don't hear a characteristic sound rhythm for that letter,
right?
Or any other letter for that matter. Yeah. But when you hear a da dit, that's, okay, now, the dits and das are there, but there's a sound rhythm that's suddenly, that now is apparent. And just generally speaking, for most, unique single character sounds are brought out by, according to all the students that I've asked about this, and I love to ask questions, it's generally somewhere between 25 and 30 word per minute character speed for most. The issue has always been, if you only have a brief sliver / instant of time, to recognize letters, let's say, at, high speed to anybody at 12 words per minute, 25 words per minute is an incomprehensible, speed. And that's the key. It's incomprehensible.
Right.
How can we add single and unique character sound recognition skills to students' existing DIT-DOS sequence recognition skills?
Right.
Leading with familiarity. Lead with familiarity building.
Okay, and that being the familiarity building of the sound is what you're approaching there?
The way I think that we can do this, and I think it'll work well because I've done it with prior classes in another organization, and that is to say a short common word, preferably a 2-letter word, like B, like the word B.
Okay.
And say, okay, here's B at a quote unquote common ICR speed.
Okay.
We need to talk about how fast that is or what it is. Just it's a common ICR conversational Morse code speed.
Sure.
And then send BE at that speed, maybe 3 times at least. Talk about it a little bit. Did you hear sort of that sound rhythm of the BE? And then send it a couple more times and say, okay, now we're going to have some fun guessing at a new word based on BE by appending or adding just 1 letter to the end of that word. And so there's a very gradual addition of recognition. But it's not really talked about as a goal. I don't want it, at least I don't want it talked about as a goal. I want it talked about as, hey, let's have some fun guessing at what this new word might be.
And that's what it's all about. You bet.
Yeah, it's leading with recognition. Send bet, send beg, send bed, ask questions. What'd you hear? Did anybody? The more outrageous the guesses we get, the more fun we'll have.
Very good.
And so, in a subtle way, de-emphasize the onus, the burden, the stress of recognition accuracy. Bring forward the fun of guessing what this new word might be, but always at a character speed level that has them continually getting accustomed to and getting familiar with what letters sound like at a common ICR speed.
Yep. Which, as you say, is 25 to 30 then at that speed.
25 to 27, I think, is probably the good. That's my guess. That's my best guess is all.
Right.
At what a sending speed should always be around that area, at that 25 to 27 or slightly up. But make it a consistent speed. If I am an instructor for some of these classes at the intermediate level for, the official ICR class, it'll be a class of discovery. It'll be a class of fun. It'll lead with short, known words and appending 1 and then 2 letters like Ben, beat, beam. There's all kinds of 2 letters you can add to BE, for example. But there's lots of other short words on the top, the first 10. 20 of the top 100 most common English words.
And so
That's
that instant character recognition turns into instant word recognition, and you hear the sound, and that is, I think, the key to what we're looking at for head copy and speed of comprehension, I would imagine.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well said by a very accomplished, CW op. You nailed it, and I think we all sort of agree that uh, unique single sound to letter associations is the key to head copy or to ICR.
Right.
It's a listening thing. It's not a writing thing. You can just sit back and relax and listen and gain familiarity with these sounds. And they inevitably lead, and the first one that leads to this typically is the word sound of CQ, right?
Everybody knows
takes
that.
on a single sound rhythm for those two letters.
Exactly. And the same with 73, and the same thing. Some of the other protocol, that comes across that, your QTH, for example, or things like that, or QSO, it's coming.
Yeah,
where it's there. And
especially if you're able to copy enough to know to follow the train of thought.
Right.
So you can anticipate that, what you're going to hear next. And it really, what you then hear is not only are you recognizing this character sounds or the word sound, you kind of knew what you were going to hear before you heard it.
Sure.
So recognition or anticipation is a big part of head copy, but that's sort of later, in
Down
this
the
class.
road a piece, to where it goes from there.
That sort of requires more recognition to be able to actually track a train of thought.
Just while we're on that subject, what can a student do basically to maybe on his own increase this ICR? Is there a program out there or something you would suggest to do that?
I've been involved with Stephen Phillips, of course, in morsecode.world and adding features to his website, which he's been improving since the late 90s.
Sure.
He's not a CW op, remarkably, but the wordless trainer, as a part of the morsecode.world website, makes it easy to set a quote-unquote ICR speed. And then I'm planning on just creating some MP3 files that would be available to anyone and everyone where a word is announced. This is what the word is you're going to hear. You're going to hear it at a common, quote-unquote, common ICR speed.
Right.
So that you can get familiar with those speeds and actually get the feeling of what being an ICR, a head copy operator, feels like without having the ability to recognize anything at that speed. But if you know what you're going to hear, then you're going to be able to recognize what you hear because you knew what you were going to hear, and the recognition challenge was removed.
Right. So and it's the sound. Once again, you correlate between the word and the sound, and that's what you're digging at, right?
Because if you're decoding the sequence of dits and das at speeds that require that, and when you're learning Morse code, that's required.
Sure. you might say.
That's how we learn it.
Yep.
And so, but there's another skill, a second skill. Doesn't replace dit and da sequence decoding. But it sort of moves dit and da sequence decoding to the rear, and it goes to the forefront when, and this is a generalization, but when character speeds get around the 18 to 20 words a minute, that generally is sort of the limit of having enough time to decode dit and da sequences, and you're sort of pushed in, you got to start moving towards recognizing characters by a single sound rhythm.
Right.
And not focusing on what the dit and da sequence is to then figure out what the letter is.
And I guess to a certain aspect, there has to be a bit of Farnsworth, I would imagine, thrown in there for fun as well through sentences or something else, wouldn't you think?
Right. Well, that's the way it is in all the other classes. But I don't want any Farnsworth in the ICR class.
You're just going to throw it, right?
They're gonna know what the word is. It's going to start with short, pre-announced, known words. Here it is 3 times.
Perfect. Yep.
Get used to what it sounds like. Now, let's guess at what the new words might be as we add a single letter onto, several different single letters onto that word.
Exactly.
Now let's do a slightly longer word. 3 times, pre-announced, it's a known word, and away we go again. Now, and this is moving fast, but the next step, of course, is let's talk about a 2-word phrase such as he ran, and send he ran 3 times, discuss, ask questions. How does that feel? Are you left behind? Are you getting tense? Again, I don't mean to lecture, but I've learned that asking questions of a student, of all students, first of all, it validates their opinions.
Absolutely.
Second of
Yep.
all, it engages them in the class.
Exactly.
Thirdly, it promotes having more fun. Just like I'm a part of this. You know, I'm discovering how this works. I'm not being lectured to how this works. I'm not going to, as far as I'm concerned, we should not be beating anybody over the head with a lecture on how you learn ICR.
Right.
We just craftily and sneakily
Throw it
use
at
a
you.
very gradual method at kind of
Right.
leading into a little bit of recognition at first, and then slowly ramp that up as we're having fun, asking questions and discussing it as a class.
Absolutely, and with all the purpose. And I think that's the whole thing. I think it is fun. We didn't join this to get beat over the head or anything else. We have a common goal of learning CW, of course. And I think when it becomes fun, that's when the learning really, takes off, and something like that.
Enjoyment will promote better learning.
Right.
The class is about discovering how this works,
Right.
and feeling how it works. And how can you feel what head copy at ICR Speeds feels like if you can't recognize what you're hearing?
Mm-hmm.
So removing recognition and stressing the acquisition of strong single sound to letter associations and building familiarity, that's the goal of the class.
Right.
Recognition can be an outcome at some point in time, which varies from person to person. The fun part of the ICR class is you get to feel what ICR feels like because you know what you're going to hear.
Exactly.
And then, we're going to add a letter and have some fun with guesses, with guessing. Whatever. Not about like you need to recognize this properly, accurately.
Mm-hmm.
Forget that. It's like we're going to have some fun guessing what the letter or what the new word is, and what did it feel like?
Right.
How do you feel? Was it stressful? Or is it just sort of interesting at this genuine, common ICR speed that you'd like to learn not only how to do, but what it feels like and experience it before you can actually do it. And that's sort of the goal of what I think this ICR class should be is, hey, let's get people to feel what it's like well before they're able to do it.
Right. And that's going to be intertwined to the whole curriculum at LICW is the fact that this is going to be a major point.
It's applicable to other classes as well.
Absolutely. I know I've done some similar things in my intermediate class over there, but it's just totally amazing. Tom, thank you so much for yapping with us over here, and we'll look forward to more of the same from you in the near future, I'm sure. Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
Take care.
As I mentioned a bit earlier in the podcast over there, coming up in January, the LICW Intermediate Curriculum takes on a whole brand new look and feel. This goes on from BC1 to the advanced areas. And with us today is Mike, N1CC, and Quentin, K7DRQ, who, among other things, are key principals in the curriculum development here at LICW. So, Quentin, please speak to what's changed.
Well, the biggest changes came about in the beginner's curriculum when we went to a carousel setup, and we completely changed the way we tried to deliver a bit of a continuing education at that level.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest changes these days are coming into the intermediate, where the goal is to make it seamlessly follow this new beginner's carousel curriculum and help people broaden the way they communicate. So the tail end of the beginner's curriculum has people having QSOs, SKCC, LICW, SOTA, POTA, great QSOs actively on the air, making contacts. And where intermediate one starts is it says, let's throw away the script and let's talk.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And that's the key element right there. So how are we going to achieve that? Intermediate seems to be the spot where the full development starts. So how's that going to happen, Mike?
Well, we learned a lot from our tortoise group that used to be geared to fill a huge gap that existed in our previous curriculum. The beginner's curriculum of old days, the legacy, ended at 5 words a minute, and intermediate started at 10 words a minute. So this tortoise group really filled the niche of that gap and built techniques, exercises, and content to promote fluency, and combine that with some of the exercises that Quentin and his team in the NV1U created to promote fluidity, ease of communication. And so that's how we address our objectives in Intermediate 1.
That's great. So then we're advancing basically to the 2 and the 3 from there. And what are the differences as we take it from 1 to 3? What are the differences in that, Quentin?
Well, so Intermediate 1 actually doesn't push speed anywhere. We start at 12 over 12 and we finish at 12 over 12. And the goal there is to introduce this capacity for fluidity, for comfort, for being able to copy whatever's coming, regardless of script, without knowing what's expected, and to reply in sorts. By the time you finish Intermediate 3, you will be probably on the 20 over 20 speed.
Wow.
And so the goal there is to push speed while continuing to push fluidity.
Mm-hmm.
The other aspect of Intermediate 2 and 3 is an increasing focus on head copy. It's very small at first. It's about 10% of the class. And then by the time you get into Intermediate 3, we're expecting about half the class to be performed head copy style. And what that means is you can still use a pen and paper if you like, but most of the exercises in the head copy piece of the class are going to be tailored towards can you copy conversationally, and can you try to just understand code as a spoken fluent language?
Right. Which is that's the goal, I think, as to where it goes. Mike, what's the process? How did this all come about, if you might I'd ask?
When we did the beginner's carousel, we did a lot of reading into historical documents, and we combined that with our own experience. The intermediate was very much built by leveraging the best of what we have learned over the years. And we just spoke about how the tortoises helped with the development of Intermediate 1. Intermediate 2, which is where we begin to increase effective speed, very much leverages on the work and the teachings of Tom W0FN, who taught an ICR class at LICW and has refined it over the years. And he has done some beautiful work now in the area of character familiarization. He thinks that the quest for speed should be a gradual one. And instead of heading straight for accuracy, that's a flawed concept. And instead, the focus should be on familiarity. And so we have developed techniques, exercises for the students to just, in a very calm and relaxed manner, focus on just the sounds of the characters. Don't worry about the accuracy. Accuracy is a byproduct of familiarity.
How about the students? Should they be, somebody entering into the intermediate group, well, let's say Intermediate 3 right there, should they be kind of scared about getting into this thing? Or what are we doing in that class basically to keep people involved? How does that simply work, Quentin?
Oh, I feel like those are two different questions.
Sure.
Should they be scared? No, absolutely not. Should they be uncomfortable? I hope so for some amount of the class. We really try to push people for some of the class into this uncomfortable zone where you're missing and you're failing to some extent. And Mike brought up Tom W0FN. One of Tom's favorite sayings is that failing is just practice. And I love that. In terms of how we're keeping people kind of happy and engaged and learning well, the intermediate curriculum is building on another success of the NV1U class, which is this cohort effect. NV1U, when run by Tom back in the day, and still to this day, took place 5 days a week at the same time every day. And the result of that was a cohort of folk who knew each other very well and got along very well. It built a very safe space where people could engage and get straight into more personal matters. And the way we're rolling out intermediate now, as of January, will be with classes 5 days a week at the same time for each level, so that we can build on those cohort effects.
And that's one of the things that I find, in NV1U is the fact that these guys and everybody in that group have been around there for ages. We know everybody, pretty much everything that there is to know about the participants. Yeah, Mike.
And one of the real fascinating things about NV1U, I call that a head copy laboratory, because this group started reading scripts, reading jokes at 10 words a minute, and today are sending and receiving conversational head copy at speeds up to 30 words a minute. And there is no manual for that. You can read books that talk about it. You can even talk about it with your friends, but there's no structured class, at least until now in this curriculum, to take you from beginner to conversational head copy. And what we have done is leverage this laboratory that has come up with its own exercises, its own vernacular of terms. We talk about retention buffers and things like that, which don't mean anything to anybody until you read the guide and go through the new method. And it's very effective and very exciting. It's the heart of what we're about to do.
And it's a whale of a lot of fun. So where are we going next? Maybe you can give us an idea. What are some of the exercises that you guys are doing in intermediate, kind of promote what we're talking about? Can you give us a kind of an example on that, Quentin?
Yeah, we're working really hard to familiarize yourself with this concept of generalized communication. We're calling it conversational CW. And so some of the things we might do is play with this idea of context or thread. We're going to be talking about pets. And so, I might ask you, do you have any pets? Do you have a dog? Yes, her name is Latte. And you're expecting this kind of talk. And so it helps pin down the wide universe of what you might be copying into a much more cohesive area. Mm-hmm. And then you would respond in kind with some more thoughts around the same subject. We're going to play a lot with head copying at different difficulties. First words, then well-known phrases, where again that context exists, but it's only in a 3 to 5 word span. If I'd said raining cats and dogs, if you start copying raining cats, you might well be able to switch from copy mode into verification mode for and dogs.
And finish it off from there, which is that's a goal and an achievement as well. Where are we headed for next? This is really exciting stuff. Mike, where are we going down the road? What do you foresee in the future over here for this?
Well, this effort did not just bring us a new intermediate. It is a complete new advanced curriculum as well. Uh-huh. And we really need to hats off to Terry, our original QRQ instructor. And Terry has been so successful that his class has gotten up into speeds that as they're practicing, it makes it impractical for someone new into that group to try and even catch up. And so as a product of his success, we find the need now to actually break his class up. And so what we're doing now is we created a whole new category within Advanced. We now have Advanced 1, 2, and 3. The Advanced 1 classes are like the NV1U and Jenna's class on Thursday. It's the focus on conversational head copy at speeds between 20 and 25. Then Terry's class now will focus at a speed range between 25 and 35 with a concentration at 28, which is a really comfortable high-speed conversational speed. And then Jenna and Gunnar will focus on QRQ, 35 to 45 words a minute, and they're also bringing in the QRQ Maniacs group inside the LICW umbrella, and they just have so much fun in the way they practice. It's contagious.
It's amazing. Well, it's exciting. That's all I can say about that. It's just, I think it's to a point of you're achieving exactly what LICW is out to do, and teaching CW in all the various levels, and kind of go from there. And I want to thank you two guys for sure, and everybody else on the team over there for putting together what I think is going to be an exciting time here next year. Yeah, expect this curriculum to get underway somewhere in January then, Quentin?
Yeah, that's correct. We're rolling out in January. Instructor training to start very soon.
Very good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. And onward and upward.
Thank you, Duff.
Thank you, Duff.
Thanks, Mike. This is LICW is produced by the Informational Services of the Long Island CW Club. Comments, questions may be made to WA7BFN at MSN.com. Thanks, everybody. Till next time, 73s.